There's Jeremy Dillon, folks. And ladies and gentlemen, Jim Lauderdale himself. Let's take a few minutes here to get the backstory, the DVD extras, I guess, the director's cut. Congrats on getting this done. 2 years in the making, and did this start with just you had a lot of stories you could have picked from in the world. You narrowed it on Jim Lauderdale because a personal obsession, or because there was a larger story? You thought there was kind of a bigger story to tell about country music in his life and career.
Well, I think it's a bit of both. I mean, I sort of had two main reasons for making the film, and one of them was just as a celebration of Jim's music and all the different facets of his career, because I feel like there's people who know the hit songs that he's written for George Strait, Patti Lovers and Gary Allen and the Dixie Chicks, but they don't know about his bluegrass records, or they know his radio show but they don't know about his hosting the Americana Awards, or they know that but they don't know his work with Elvis Costello. So it was sort of about giving people a rounder picture of his diverse career. And the other half of it was about, I felt like the more I learnt about Jim's backstory, it seemed like he was destined to become this huge mainstream country star, and I wanted to look at why that happened. And as you say, in doing that, it sort of became a story about the way country music has changed over the past 25 years and the rise of the Americana genre, which Jim sort of pioneered.
And Jim, when I think of the directors that you've turned down to work with, Tarantino, Scorsese, Michael Moore, I understand you camped out at your house for weeks on end, but no, why did you say yes to Jeremy?
Well, Jim felt that Jeremy would just be the natural choice, and when we wanted someone to make the documentary about us, then when Jeremy approached us about it, we wanted him to do it. No, but in all seriousness, no, but I met Jeremy when I made my first trip to Australia. And how old were you then? 12, and he was just such a great kid. And then I saw him a few years later, and he's just, I just really took a shine to him. And so then when he, proposed this, I was just so flattered and honored, and so I just can't thank you enough, Jeremy. You did a great job.
Thanks, Jim.
I was telling Jeremy the other day, I said, hey, I can't wait till you hurry up and write that feature film. I'm going to have a big part in and do the soundtrack. And could I have an advance?
Well, it's funny actually, the first time Jim and I met, we came up with this TV show together called The Lamingtons, which is about this group of traveling Americana singer-songwriters who were sent by the FBI to go undercover, and it would be like the Monkees mixed with 24, and each show there would be a performance segment. And whatever happened to that, Jim?
I don't know. We need to get that working.
Ideas all come in their time. Tell us about some of the archival footage, the old stills and photos and family movies. That's always one of the most fun parts of a documentary, putting it together, is having those, look what I got my hands on, and what were some of the most fun archives to get a hold of?
Yeah, well, for me that was some of the most exciting parts of making the film. Like there's a few clips in there from Jim's performance at the Montreux Jazz Festival in I think about 1994, and just seeing him with that great band, like with Buddy playing guitar and Dusty on bass, and and just I could have easily put that whole set in there and just have that would have been an hour of the movie. But stuff like that, and I'm sure I noticed a lot of people were getting kicks out of seeing Jim as like an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old playing the banjo. That was pretty cool. But yeah, just all this archive. Actually, one bit of archive that didn't make it in the film that was interesting was Jim and Buddy have just done this great duets record together called Buddy and Jim. And I found this footage from, I think you're in Germany, it's about 1995, and you're about to play Hole in My Head, and you say, you know, guys, I wrote this song with a great friend of mine named Buddy Miller, and we're about to do an album together. Yeah, so it only took another 18 years to finally come out.
You know, I wish I could have been in the room when you discovered some of these rare treasures. You know, this archive must have been like Christmas to find these things of Jim.
They bring back any memories when you were seeing some of that archival stuff?
It did. Yes, it did.
Yeah, the home movies were cool. How much more of that is there? Was that just some?
There wasn't a lot. That was shot when my dad and mom came through this place in Flat Rock, North Carolina, where I was working the Flat Rock Playhouse. I think I was a junior in high school, and then we went up to a family reunion in Virginia, so that's where that stuff was shot. Just that's all I had was that stuff.
My favorite, I want to share one Jim Lauderdale story. It's my personal, because I really appreciated him. It was one of the times that I got insight into his character. But I was, it was 10 years ago, and my then fiance and I were at an event here, and I barely knew Jim, and my wife had never met him before. We were both big fans, of course, we were talking about our wedding coming up. We were going to get married here in the Hall of Fame. And the subject of what are we going to wear came up. And before I knew it, Jim had offered to loan me a suit that he owned that Carl Smith had owned, made by Nudie, the tailor himself, and it had Carl's name inside. And I said, that's amazing. What a lovely offer. And would it possibly fit? And it fit like a glove. And I got to get married in the rotunda wearing Carl Smith's suit. I've never looked so good. And it was no strings attached. A fantastic. Thank you in public for that.
Sure, thank you. Hey, if I'll tell you what we could do. Maybe we could film this on an iPhone or something. That would be good in the documentary.
Let's get that.
Nice. Yeah.
Did you ever get married?
No, I haven't yet. Not yet. Not quite yet.
Does your house still need redecorating?
Jeremy, were you based in Australia most of this time you're working on this and traveling, or you based in the States now?
Oh, no. I am still based in Australia and have been for 22 years. So all the shooting for this was done over 2 visits to the States. June last year for a couple of weeks, and then I was here until I ran out of money, and then I raised some money on the internet and came back April, May this year, and sort of followed Jim around in Nashville and out to Rimrock and Pioneer Town and out to Melfest, and shot the rest of it then.
The Pioneer Town stuff's really effective because you had the archival images and contemporary. That was a fantastic sequence. To hear how that record came together, it's a favorite of mine. I never knew how that record actually got made. It's fantastic. My last question is for Jim and for you guys. You spoke, Jim, more, I think, seriously and reflectively and in this movie than you've always got a great wit about you, and I always have just a little edge of irony, but you're again a good interview for that reason. But then at the same time, here we see really you have to talk about some of the tougher times and the stretches of wondering what's next. And I wonder how you guys arrived at that. Was it easy? Were you ready to do that? Did you have to coax him down a little bit and sort of kind of work through in an interview and just kind of get to the place of true reflection?
Well, getting to that serious side of Jim was pretty tough for him to have to, bring up those unpleasant memories, and I had to do a lot of Rolfing to get into the scenes. You know how that releases all those old things. But before I answer your question about that, I want to clear up 2 things real quick about that. There was one inaccuracy, but then I do want to, I never thought about this before till Ketch Secor compared me to Mark Twain, and that's something I'm going to capitalize on.